All right, let's talk about a thought experiment that is just, well, it's magnificent. We're going to take the most cynical, despair-filled universe you can possibly imagine, Warhammer 40K, and we're dropping in the most cynical, unkillable, and frankly, the most wonderfully snarky vampire in all of fiction. So what happens when the ultimate Grimdark setting meets a guy who thinks the whole thing is just hilarious? Let's find out.
So, first things first, you gotta understand the setting here. The 41st millennium is built on one single, unshakable idea: endless, grinding, hopeless war. This is a universe that has literally weaponized despair. You know, mercy is heresy, laughter is a sign of weakness, and pretty much everyone is having a terrible time all the time.
And this is where our whole story just completely flips on its head. What happens when you introduce a force that doesn't just resist all that despair, but actually finds it funny? A monster who looks at this perfectly balanced ecosystem of cosmic misery and just thinks, wow, this place is great. This isn't just a simple crossover, you see, it's a fundamental clash of genres.
Okay, so let's get right to the moment it all changes. That one little point of divergence where a reality-warping hiccup sends our favorite vampire on a bit of an interdimensional vacation he did not ask for.
Now look, Alucard doesn't just land on some quiet backwater planet. Oh no, he materializes with a sound that's described as someone pressing the skip button on existence directly on the bridge of a legendary plague ship. He's suddenly face to face with the herald of the chaos god of decay himself. This isn't a ripple in the pond, it's a tidal wave, and it's aimed right at the heart of the enemy.
And his reaction? Is it fear? Disgust? Nope. It's manic, genuine appreciation. From the very first second, he completely throws his enemies off because they're trying to inspire absolute terror, and he's over here giving them an art critique. And that's the core of this whole conflict. Their greatest weapon is psychological horror, and he thinks it's hilarious.
And this attitude, it builds directly into Alucard's first, and you could argue his most important, cosmic confrontation, giving a performance review to a god.
You've got Typhus and his plague marines posturing and threatening, and Alucard just dismantles their entire mystique with pure sass. He's not fighting their power, you see, he's mocking their branding. The psychological terror that chaos absolutely relies on, it just evaporates when faced with someone who refuses to take any of it seriously.
And let's just remember who he's mocking. We're talking about beings of immense reality-bending power. Nurgle is the literal embodiment of despair, decay, and entropy. A cosmic horror that's supposed to be beyond mortal comprehension. A being whose very presence rots reality itself.
And what's Alucard's response to this unimaginable cosmic horror? He thinks it's a joke? I mean, think about it. He's already immortal, he's already damned. Nurgle has absolutely nothing to offer him, and his gifts of disease and decay are, to Alucard, just a really weird, kind of gross hobby. For the first time, probably ever, a chaos god meets a being it can't tempt, can't corrupt, and absolutely cannot intimidate.
So after giving Chaos a solid F on their report card, Alucard moves on to his next review subject, the Imperium of Man. And yeah, their first encounter is just as bizarre.
After landing on a hive world, Alucard's first impression of humanity's grim, dark future is, you guessed it, another aesthetic critique. He finds the obsessive use of skulls visually exhausting. He treats this dogmatic, oppressive regime not as some terrifying dystopia, but as a subculture that just tried way, way too hard.
But then, during his interrogation by an inquisitor named Vex, we see something totally different. For a moment, that manic persona just drops, and he reveals his core motivation. He's not just some mindless force of destruction, he's a weapon, and one defined by a profound, unshakable loyalty to his master, Integra Helsing. This single fact, it changes everything.
So the Imperium makes this insane but also kind of brilliant call. Instead of trying to destroy this unkillable anomaly, they decide to just aim him. Inquisitor Vex brokers a deal. They'll help him find a way home, and in return, he'll fight chaos for them. Just like that, the Imperium has gained a weapon that dismantles their enemy's single greatest strength, fear.
And of course, this brand new partnership gets thrown right into the fire. Alucard's first official mission sends him to disrupt a coronate cult, which leads to, of all things, a job interview with the god of blood and war himself.
And yes, I'm being serious. He presents his list of qualifications, literally written in blood, to pitch his services to Khorne. The sheer audacity is just incredible. He's approaching the literal embodiment of rage not as a god to be feared, but as a potential employer who should be really impressed by his very, very long history of murder.
And this, right here, just brilliantly illustrates the fundamental disconnect. Khorne rejects him. And it's not for a lack of power, it's because of a clash of philosophies. Alucard is probably the most prolific killer imaginable, but he enjoys it. He finds the fun in it. And to Khorne, who views war as the sacred, serious art, well, that's the ultimate sign of disrespect.
So what's Alucard's reaction to being rejected by the Rage God? He turns it into a victory by taunting Khorne into getting defensive about not being invited to Slaaneish's parties. He manages to psychologically outmaneuver the cosmic embodiment of pure rage into sheer, frustrated annoyance. It's an absolute masterpiece.
So, with corruption off the table, intimidation a total failure, and even recruitment blowing up in their faces, the forces of chaos fall back on the one thing they truly understand: overwhelming violence. They unite their fleets with one single purpose: erase the vampire problem.
So what's Alucard's response to this impossible threat? He decides to face them. Alone. And his motivation? It's a budding, almost protective loyalty to his new ally. He tells Inquisitor Vex, "They threatened you. That's friendship in this universe, right?"
The fight that happens next isn't a battle. It's a war on logic. In 17 minutes, Alucard becomes this non-physical force of pure weaponized absurdity. He confronts Nurgle's fleet, he offers hugs to the Thousand Suns, he steals the sound system from Slaaneish's flagship, and in the end, he routs the entire armada. He doesn't just defeat them, he humiliates them, proving that the rules of this universe simply do not apply to him.
So, with the forces of chaos temporarily neutralized by sheer mockery, Alucard's journey moves to its final, and maybe its most personal chapter, the quest to finally get home.
And this is a gut punch. Using a Necron device, he sees his home dimension, and he sees Integra. She's older, but she's still searching for him. In that single instant, the jokes stop, the sass completely evaporates, and all that's left is the absolute core of his being, a deep, somber loyalty. The path home is right there, visible, but it's closed. He's trapped.
So where does that leave everyone? Let's do a quick rundown. The Imperium. They win. They've gained a weapon that chaos has absolutely no defense against. The forces of chaos? They lose, big time. Their primary psychological advantage is completely gone. And Alucard? It's kind of a draw. He's stranded, but now he has a renewed purpose. Knowing his master is still waiting for him, that's enough to keep him going, enough to keep fighting, and enough to keep being the most magnificently annoying creature in the entire 41st millennium.
And that, right there, is the ultimate takeaway. The universe is still grim, it's still dark, and it's still full of war. That part hasn't changed. But the introduction of one spectacularly snarky vampire has fundamentally altered its tone. He proved that even in the most hopeless of realities, a bit of laughter can be the most powerful weapon of all.